Hey gang, Carnivore Grandpa here. I wanted to start a series of videos on plant toxins, and this is something that I've been doing a lot of studying on, something that I think is important for everybody to know, that fruits and vegetables are not necessarily as friendly as as we've been told, or that they've taught us. You know, that we need to eat fruits, vegetables, you know, all kinds, eat as many as you want because they're really good for you and they're health foods and they're superfoods and blah, blah, blah. It's not necessarily true. So I'm just going to do some short videos on the different types of plant toxins. And I'd like to start today with a plant toxin called oxalates. Now, oxalates come in the form when you ingest certain plants with oxalates in them, and almost every vegetable and a lot of the fruits have oxalates in them, some of them in higher quantities than others. And I'll tell you the ones that you should try and avoid, most popular ones, later on in the video. Now, what happens when you ingest these is you create in your guts what's called oxalic acid. Now, the body needs a certain amount of that, and your liver will produce what you need, but we need to avoid overconsumption of it because it causes really awesome things like joint pain, chronic fatigue, what else? Gout. It can lodge in your thyroid. The oxalate crystals can lodge in your thyroid and affect your thyroid. They're finding oxalate crystals in the brain of Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients. So these aren't things to trifle with. It's not something, oxalates, a big deal. They are a very big deal, and they are destroying our health. They're destroying your health. And I would suggest you do a little bit of even a small dive into oxalates and the poisons in the fruits and vegetables. Biggest contributor to oxalate poisoning, I would say, would be spinach and kale. The things that they tell you should be eating tons of, you should actually be throwing it into your blender and mixing up these kale and spinach smoothies and drinking them all the time because they're so good for you. And to be honest, spinach has a lot of iron, it has a lot of calcium, it has a lot of nutrients, but what oxalates are termed, and these plant poisons are termed, they call them anti-nutrients. So what happens when you ingest spinach, let's take that as an example, is when you ingest them, the plant toxins or the oxalates are something that the plant protects itself with. It doesn't have claws or teeth. You can't run away. So to protect itself from predators or things that are going to eat it, it has these chemical weapons, and oxalates is one of them. So what happens is you ingest your smoothie, your spinach smoothie, and the oxalates in there bind up. First and foremost, the oxalates love calcium, so they will bind up all the calcium in the food that you've eaten, the spinach that you've eaten, which is so high in calcium, and you need to eat it to get your calcium. But it binds that all out, and you poop it out in the toilet. It'll bind up the iron. It binds to all different kinds of nutrients. That's why it's called an anti-nutrient, because basically what your body does, it binds to that, and then your body flushes it out. Now with spinach, there's an overabundance of oxalates. So the oxalates now get into your bloodstream, they get into your system, they pass through the wall of your intestines into your blood, and they begin to search out these things like calcium and iron and all these things that we need in our blood, all the things that we need for our body to function properly, and they bind to that. And they'll crystallize. One of the main things, if you look at oxalates, they'll talk about kidney stones. and kidney stones are calcium oxalates. And that's how your body gets rid of the calcium oxalates in your in your system, in your bloodstream. But they can also deposit in crystalline form, which the crystals are like little sharp knives or razor blades. They go into your brain, they go into your muscles, this muscle fatigue, muscle soreness. They lodge in your joints, which gives you arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. They lodge in the joints of your big toe, which will give you gout. All kinds of wonderful, wild and wonderful things that our body does with the oxalates. And what they're doing is to prevent oxalate toxicity. They are literally putting them, the body's literally encapsulating them in these different systems in your body to protect you from them. But it causes chronic pain and chronic fatigue, and they lodge in the brain, which cause mental distortions like dementia and Alzheimer's. They're really not a very good thing to ingest into our bodies. They are literally a poison that will kill you. Not like cyanide, you take it and 30 seconds later you're dead. It's a slow poison. It kills you slowly, or it incapacitates you. So let's try to avoid them. Kale and spinach are some of the biggest. Now, green kale, I think purple kale is fine, or it's lower at least in oxalates. But do the research yourself. Holy cow! You start looking at oxalates, and you'll be astounded that this is just a monstrosity in our bodies that we need to get rid of. The best way to get rid of it: stop eating fruits and vegetables, folks. Go on a low-carb, high-fat diet. Go on a carnivore diet. What you'll find too when you go on these diets is the oxalates in your system will start. Your system holds on to the oxalates until you stop ingesting them. And then your body will slowly release the oxalates when you're not ingesting them. It'll flush your body of the oxalates, which is a good thing, kind of. But it's not a good thing in the fact that a lot of people, if they're flushed too quickly, they'll get kidney stones or other problems. So, that's something you need to look into too. So that's my rant on oxalates, a plant toxin. Maybe next time I'll get into lectins, which are equally or more severe. But the oxalates are harming us. So next video I'll talk about lectins. So stay tuned for that, and we will talk to you later, folks.